Welcome to East by West Farms. Here we grow what we eat and we eat what we grow. Today I'm going to show you what we can grow in Texas summer without watering. Behind me is a patch that I'm doing an experiment this summer to see what I can grow without watering in Texas. Right now it looks like a jungle, and that's exactly what we intended. The sunflowers are already dead. In spring, I chose this area as an experiment. I left the 2 rows of sunflowers to create a shaded area. So between these 2 rows of sunflowers, I have the shaded area, and I didn't plant anything. I just want to see what things will grow, and then by this time I can come in and see what can grow and what cannot. So now that the sunflowers are pretty much dead and the temperature also dropped somewhat and we're going to get rain, so it's a good time to actually plant fall vegetable. Today is relatively cool. We have a very heavy cloud and look like we're going to get some rain, but the temperature is still high and I'm standing here sweating. What I'm going to do is to clean out all the dead sunflowers, collect the head for the chicken, and then chop and drop of the stems that give us quite some biomaterial as a fertilizer or mulch for the fall crops. The tool I will use, of course, is I have a pair of scissors to cut the head off the sunflowers, and then I have a pruner that to basically cut the big stems off. So I just drop it right into the ground for mulching.
Right.
All right, I have a lot of work ahead of me. Let's get started. We have to pause our recording because we got a huge storm come right after I was cleaning up the sunflowers over here. So now it's sunny and I'm sweaty under the sun. I'm going to show you what's still growing in under the shade of the sunflower inside the jungle, and what I'm going to do to prepare for fall planting. This patch here actually is kind of outside of the jungle, but it's have some shade from the south because of this big ash juniper over here. So I have some shizels growing and some chives growing. We know they are going to do well even without much water. But what surprised me is this collard that I planted last fall. They are actually still alive. I saw some of them sending out new leaves, but they seem to survived in the summer without much watering and then start to come out when the weather cools. That is pretty good. That's kind of a surprise for me. Along the fence here, I put some chive seeds. What I envisioned was to have a wall of chives that will keep the deers out because they don't like the smell. The chives have very dense roots that they can block the weed from growing from the outside into the garden. I would say that seems worked out pretty well. You can see that I have very dense chives. They look very healthy even though I didn't water them at all. And I also have a basil grow over here. This will be our spice garden. So with the chives and the basil and the shiso, they will do well in summer to keep the weed in check and keep the animal on check as well. This is in the middle of that sunflower jungle. It's pretty shaded in summer. I start to have some brassica sprouted already. It's interesting because usually brassica don't like warm weather. They seem to do okay under the shade. I also have some squash that look pretty healthy. There are some weeds, but I just need to keep them. But compared to the other area, weeding over here is actually not bad. So I have some borage that also sprouted, so it's going to grow in a big bush. My experiment worked out pretty well that I was able to create a shady area for the cool season vegetable to survive through the summer. I'm pretty happy to see that. This corner here is under the shade of the peach as well, in addition to the sunflowers. And also I have a swale over here to collect water. The collard over here is doing much better. It's already have large leaves that theoretically I can harvest. Probably I will wait a little bit more to give it more energy before I harvest this. Underneath here I have a few peanuts. They are not doing great, I would say, because peanuts like hot and full sun, so they are not doing well, but they survived. Now that they get more sun, they should do well. I have, I believe that's a butternut squash over here, looks really healthy. I would say without watering, this is amazing. This patch over here, I can see some peanuts that actually is blooming. It had more sun in the other area, so the peanuts here looks pretty good. I have some taro roots that I planted in spring. Usually taro roots don't like too much sun, so in summer it will die back like the stem. I have two plants over here. They still have leafy green leaves. That means they are still growing. I have a papaya. I planted pretty late in spring, so it didn't grow much. Hopefully now it will grow. We'll see if we get some papaya from these papaya plants. I have the squash crawling. With the weather cool, they're going to cover this area in no time. This patch, I planted some peppers pretty late in the season when I don't have space to plant them, so I just put them over here. The idea is to see if they can survive through the summer. If they set down roots, then when the weather cool, they will basically explode and give us pepper. So even though they are pretty low right now, only about 6 inches, they are producing flower buds. So that means they are going to give us peppers. And especially now that I removed the shade, so they're going to get a lot more sun, and they're going to do very well in the fall. I also planted some black-eyed peas. They do well in summer, but I didn't know whether they will do well without much water or not. Apparently they are, and I harvested quite some peas yesterday. Look like I missed some over here, so that probably will be our seeds for next year. I'm surprised to see that I still have a patch of green onions, and they don't look bad at all. Usually green onion dies out when the summer heat comes, and we just have to wait until much later in fall for them to come back out again. But this time, under the shade of the sunflowers, they're doing pretty well without much watering. So I've been collecting pretty big green onions from other area in this patch as well. For this patch, I'm going to save it, let it shoot out flowers, and then drop the seeds. So next year we have new green onions come out. I see a lot of baby plants that sprouted on this slope. So that's the southern part. So this slope actually is kind of the northern slope, and it's in the shade. All these brassicas start to sprout because it's cooler over here. I have the walkway over here, so the bed is about maybe 6-8 inches above the ground. The walkway, actually, I can see some brassica sprouted as well because it's also in the shade, and of course it's also when it rains, the walkway collect water. Every year that I'm actually shifting around because the plants choose where it grows, and I choose where to walk according to where the plants are growing. This area under the sunflower is not too bad to have in terms of weed, because the sunflower creates shade and kind of block the weed out. Some area like this area over here, I didn't have lots of very dense sunflowers, so it actually had quite some weed. I'm not very diligent on weeding in the garden. One is so hot that we only have maybe 1 or 2 hours per day, so the weed just not the priority. Another thing is actually the weed is beneficial because it protects the soil from getting bleached out by the sun. I can see that under the weed, actually the soil is much more moist than a bare soil. Under the sun, when the soil gets dried up, nothing grows, and so it's basically just dead. But under the weed, at least things are growing. I'm kind of intentionally let the weed grow that area in the area that I'm not attending to. At some point, I want to reclaim those areas. So this is one of the areas. I have a pile of weeds. This have the cut off from the sunflowers. I just pile it up over here and let it decompose. By next spring, this will be very healthy garden soil that I can plant something here that I know is going to survive well, or I will have a very dense patch of sunflowers grow at this corner. It will basically choke out the wheat, and then next year in the fall I can plant vegetables. It's a constant battle. It takes about 2 years, 3 years to kind of push the weeds out. We have large area of gardening. We really don't need this corner. We can do the laser gardener method to trying to slowly encroaching on the weed and claim the area for vegetable gardening. In this video, I showed you an experiment we did this year. We used sunflowers to create a shaded area and didn't water it them much to see what can survive the Texas summer. Now that we take the sunflowers out, and we can see that there are quite a lot of things doing well in this shady area without much watering at all. I will say the experiment was a great success. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumb up. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. If you have not done so, please hit the subscribe button to follow our journey with the East by West Farms.